major missteps that the church makes today when it comes to teaching about relationships and singleness?
Probably the biggest misstep is they don't really say a lot. It's interesting that most churches don't have really a support system for singles. I think that it's becoming something that major players pay attention to, but widespread, there's not. I mean, when I started doing singles books, there was no single ministry, so to speak. So when I hit the speaking trail, it was general women's ministry, and single women were coming there in the drove saying, at last, there's a speaker who's single, who's talking about single stuff. Well, I wasn't really talking about single stuff because I was speaking to a mixed audience. So I had to learn how to craft my message to reach both sides. And so I spent a lot of time talking to both sides of the equation. I think what happens then is that we develop these little single ministries that become like little meat markets that the guys don't want to show up for because they feel like they're the prey being hunted. And so then the women get together and they're depressed because there are no men. And so they discuss that and their faith just plummets, you know. And so I think that the missteps is we've got to figure out what singles ministry needs to look like, or if it even should be cordoned off, or does it become a life purpose group or something where you're giving people things to do and meaningful reasons for coming together besides talking about being single. Most singles are sick of talking about being single. I mean, they know everything about it already. You can't tell them anything new unless I hope that I'm a refreshing shot in the arm for them, because I refuse to join the pity parties. I'm still single. I'm very happy and content with my life, probably a little too much. I've probably erred to the edge of selfishness at this point, if I confess something.
All right.
But I think that there has to be a new approach to dealing with singles and helping them find the joy, the fulfillment, without pointing the single finger. You know, there is life beyond being married, and there is life beyond being single. There is the life that God has called you to live, period, no matter what state you're in. And let's get to the core of what that is and how we make that work for us on a day-to-day basis. And then, how do we engage men? Because in America, a lot of churches, we have a very small amount of men. Depending, because now the church I go to is filled with men. I mean, gorgeous guys. If all my girlfriends come and their heads fall off, you know, whoa, look at that one, you know.
People are gonna want to know where this church is now.
Right.
Put it up on the screen.
But I'm proud to say that it is an example to me of what a healthy church looks like. That doesn't mean that, you know, everything is perfect there as well, and there are still singles there moaning about being single too. But what I'm saying is, just as far as the balance of the sexes within a church, that is very evident there. The other place where I see tons of men are African churches. You know, the macho guys go to church in Africa, you know, and here too. And so I want to know what that dynamic is that makes it safe for the man to come to church. And I believe it's because their masculinity is celebrated, and they are encouraged to embrace God in a masculine way. So it takes a different approach, and I think that sometimes within the main body of church, there's just this breath of not enough men being there, and the women need the men. They are a support system for women. Whether they want to be strong women or not, we like to see men, and we like to see strong men. So I think finding that balance of bringing people into a situation where they want to be there, they want to be engaged because something interesting is going on. We're not over-spiritualizing the issues of our lives, but we're taking a spiritual conversation that is heavenly, but making it earthly and practical and workable in our everyday lives. Then I think that people would show up for ministry to singles or single again people.